We've talked about how we mirror each other and how the traits that I see in you and I love in you and admire in you are absolutely reflected back at me, and they are traits that I too carry in one form or another. And how similarly the traits that kind of annoy us with certain people are traits that we too actually possess. We hold those and we emulate those on some level, and we may not like that. It might not be a fun thing to face, but we do it. We do experience that, which is an opportunity for us to change, to look at that and decide if we want to alter that and change that and embrace that instead of pushing it away. We also talked about how we are a personal mirror, just telling people how to treat us. If we choose to love and take care of ourselves, then people see that and they assist us. And on the flip side, we see how other people want to be treated, and so we treat them that way. What happens when our mirror has been cleaned in a little while? That's what I want to talk about right now. Have you ever seen like this beautiful, huge wall of mirrors? You'll see them in hotels, you'll see them in restaurants. Now people put them in their houses. There'll be a corner and there'll just be this giant mirror off in the corner, and they're just beautiful, and they make the entire room just feel spacious and open. Growing up, my grandparents, they had this older house, and the entryway was a very small entryway. It was probably 3 feet wide. It was kind of deep, so it just kind of felt very enclosed. And they had this wall of mirrors right at the door, and it was those old mirrors that have the gold veining through them. They were 12 by 12 tiles. They had the gold veining. And I remember as a little kid, sometimes I would go to the front door when nobody was there, and I would just trace the veins through the different tiles and see if I could follow one vein all the way through a bunch of different places. As an adult, I now recognize that those mirrors were there to make the entryway feel larger. Instead of having a solid wall there, it would reflect the door and make it feel like it was a double door. And so the entryway then felt like a large space to be able to enter into instead of this enclosed area. And that's what these mirrors are doing in restaurants. It makes the restaurant feel much larger and more spacious. That's what people do in a bedroom. If you have a very small bedroom and you want to make it feel larger, get a giant mirror and put it in your bedroom, and it's going to reflect the light coming in, and it's going to be fabulous. And you're going to feel like the room is larger simply because that mirror is reflecting and giving you more space illusionarily wise. Most of the time we have no clue that this is actually going on. And if you didn't know before I told you, you're going to pay attention to it now. You're going to see where this magic is used absolutely everywhere to enlarge these areas and just make it feel so much bigger. The thing is that with these mirrors, you have to clean them a lot, because if you don't, they do get this film on them, or sticky little kid hands, or just regular dust building up. And then you end up with a slightly less clear image being reflected back at you. So this challenge, while on the one hand you have to keep them clean, and it can be a little bit of work, you have to keep the intention of washing them on periodically, or the payoff is that now you have this seemingly larger room. You have a better expression of yourself and your space. So these mirrors, when they are clean, it translates beautifully to reflecting with each other and saying, I have this clear image and I'm reflecting that to you and you're reflecting yours to me. The traits we see encourage us to embody the ones that we feel are very, very positive, and emotions bounce off of each other because they're clear and they're coming out. Anger begets anger. Somebody is angry and you might get into an argument with them and you just bounce that anger right back. You're reflecting and you're adding fuel to that fire, and the anger gets even more intense. In the same aspect, joy begets joy. So you see somebody happy and you're going to reflect that joy right back at them, as long as their mirror is clear and you can see what's going on for them and where they're at and what they want to do. When our words and actions are not in alignment, our mirrors need to be cleaned. So if I emulate a behavior with the importance of self-care, then those around me are going to emulate that same behavior. So they're going to encourage me to do self-care. Sometimes I have to dig in harder and I need to get more things done because that's just what needs to happen in that moment. And there will be some people around me who are going to dig in right along with me and say, okay, let's get this done so we can get back to the self-care portion of life. And there are going to be other people around me that are going to say, hey, let's slow down, let's take a breather. How can you give yourself that self-care moment? I'm gonna have both of those on both sides because that's what people are emulating for me. That's what I've shown them and that's what they're doing, which is absolutely beautiful. And I'm so eternally grateful for that gift in my mirror that I am reflecting and supporting. On the other hand, if I continually say that I need self-care and yet actively avoid it, my mirror is filthy. People don't know what they're really seeing because my mirror's dirty. I'm saying one thing and I'm doing another. If you aren't clear in your own needs and desires, how can the people around you know what to reflect back at you? How can they help? In a positive way. Because as long as it's dirty, they're reflecting the negative part of it that you just need to go. I used to push all the time. I used to dig into the next project and the next one and the next one. I had my church, my kids, my spouse, the house, 2 to 3 jobs at any given time. It was a go, go, go kind of life. And internally, I would be screaming for a break. Internally, I would be saying, I just want to breathe. Can somebody else take on all this responsibility for a minute so that I can breathe? But externally, it was a go, go, go. So I was putting my personal needs, they just seemed like a farcical dream. I was putting them so far behind me that it didn't even matter. And externally, I looked so strong and amazing. And people were watching me and they were like, holy cow, you get so much done. How do you do it? And I would just shrug and say, I just get things done that need to be done. So internally, I'm screaming for help to myself. And externally, I'm like, don't worry, I got this. So people would just keep giving me more to do because they thought, she's got it. She's just amazing. That is just fantastic. And yet I was constantly exhausted. And once I would hit a wall, I had this little engine that could going on. I would go and I would go and I would just say, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And then eventually the I think I can went to, oh, I know I can't. And I would be knocked off the rails and I would be broken down on the side of the tracks, just praying to get back on the tracks and moving forward. And as I'm broken down, I would say, you know what? This has to change. I can't do it again. And then this other little voice would say, yeah, but if you don't do it, then who is? And you're just going to be in the same place that you are right now. So get back on the rails and you're fine. So I'd have a little breakdown. I'd go to the shop, get fixed, and instead of implementing a new change and saying, I'm going to give myself a little shift, and I'm going to figure out what I can take off my plate. I'm going to figure out how to clean my mirror and be more direct in what needs to happen. I'm going to reflect clearly. I'm going to speak up and help myself. I just kept getting on the tracks, and I kept riding that ride and crashing and crying. And then I'd get back on the track and I'd go and I'd go and I'd go and then I'd fall off and the ride just kept going. So there was this belief that I had to be a superhero and that the cracks in the armor were just, they didn't matter. They were temporary inconveniences and I was going to be able to get through it. It didn't matter. I would be fine. And eventually my armor broke because I didn't tend to those cracks and I didn't say, wait a minute. I didn't stop to see what I was reflecting to people. I didn't stop and connect with my inner self and say, wait, what do I need? And where do I go from here? Eventually, I chose to clean my mirror. Eventually, I saw that I needed to come to a clear understanding of who I am and what I want and where I want to go. And with me coming to a clear understanding, then I was able to reflect that to those around me. I was able to reflect that to my kids and say, nope, mom's not doing that. You can learn to do your laundry. I'm not cleaning your room. That's your job. Everybody else can help pitch in on the house. and I'm not going to take on those extra jobs that other people asked me to do. So I really had to clean my own mirror. I had to get right with myself so that then I could get right with other people. It was not easy. I am not saying it was easy by any means. It was intentional. It was slow. It was baby steps. It was in this moment, I'm going to clean this little mirror with a whole bunch of window cleaner and a whole bunch of elbow grease, and I'm going to work to get that clear. And then I'm going to move to another area, and then I'm going to move to another area, so that I could eventually clean my entire mirror and really get right with myself, which means that now I'm able to be right with everyone around me. So you have the same opportunity to slowly create your change. Slowly clean your mirror. Slowly get right with yourself so that you can then reflect out what you really want to do and who you really want to be. And that way it can be reflected back to you from all of those people that are around you, loving you and supporting you and wanting you to succeed. So I had to give time to settle into the change. And I pray that you give time to settle into the change too. It's baby steps. It's simple and slow. You need to take in the new reflection that you're giving out, and then feel into how much better life is. Like, you can't just do it and expect everything to be fabulous immediately. And if you do it in a big change, it's going to be harder. So do it little steps. Clean a little corner of your mirror at a time. And in so doing, people will be able to mirror back the clearest reflection of you and be able to support you in the truest version of you that you possibly can ever be. So take a deep breath. Discover something new. Thank you.